Hello and welcome to another edition of CAN TV. My name is Henry Siegel, and I will be talking about L.U.C.H.A, or formerly the Latin United Community Housing Association. So first off, I'll just start by introducing myself. So once again, my name is Henry. I'm a housing counselor at L.U.C.H.A, and I focus on counseling for the home buying as well as credit counseling and financial empowerment counseling. So I'm going to start by talking, just so if you haven't heard of us before, we're called L.U.C.H.A. We're located in Humboldt Park. We've been around for over 30 years. We were originally founded by community members of the Westtown, Logan Square, and Humboldt Park neighborhoods. We were founded as a community organizing agency, and we've since grown. We've since evolved. Now we're a pretty medium-sized organization now. We're multifaceted. We've got senior repairs, got housing counseling. We have over 153 units of affordable housing. We actually just built a new building. We're building about 10 more, so we have about 45 more units that are on the way. They're actually called the Tierra Linda projects, and they're made with some special design called the Passive House. And so if you or anyone you know is interested or is in need of low-income housing, please give us a call. I'll put our information on the sheet in a little bit. You can call our office, or you can go into our office and you can apply to get on the wait list for any of those apartments or any of the apartments that we have. Usually they're about we have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. So in addition to affordable housing, we also have housing counseling, and that's my department. And so what we try to do there is we try to focus on educating the community about ways to purchase properties, rebuild their credit, become financially stable, get your budget in line, and also, in addition, avoid foreclosure if it ever gets to that point. And so we are just trying to, and all of our services are completely free. So we are just try our best to educate as best as we can, and make sure that the community is as better prepared to gain wealth and become financially successful in their lives. So we have 2 offices currently. We have one on North Avenue. It's about North Avenue, Central Park. The address is 3541 West North Avenue. Again, 3541 West North Avenue. This is where a lot of our affordable housing, or basically our leasing department, is. And so if you are interested in any of those types of services, like low-income housing, anything like that, or what we like to call affordable housing, you would want to go to that office, and you can. I can give you I'll provide you with a number to call that we can transfer you there at any time. And then in addition, and then our other office, which is where I am located, that's where our housing counseling takes place. It's also an affordable housing building. We have over, I believe, 63 to 68 units in that particular building. So it's a really good, unique mix of different types of individuals, as well as our housing counseling department. So it gives us a good perspective, and we actually started to counsel financially the members of our own community and our own tenants, so that we can create even more wealth and more opportunity within our own tenants. So I'll just put our information here. So as you can see on the screen, so this is our segment today. It's about becoming a home buyer. And the first step to becoming a home buyer is credit, and that's what I'll be talking mainly about today. But as you can see today, so I have our address, which is 1152 North Christiana. So that's located on the corner of Division and Christiana, between Coleman and Kedzie in Humboldt Park. Our 2 offices are about not too far apart. It's about a 10 to 15-minute walk, actually. You can always give us a call at 773-489-8484, and you'll get in contact with our front desk, and they can assist you with anything that you need or any questions that you may have. Please visit our website at www.lucha.org. That's where you can find information about all the different types of services that we offer. And if you have any questions about anything that we do, you can always email us, if you prefer, at intake@lucha.org. So I'll refer back to this at the end, just in case you miss it. We'll be going over this a lot. So one of the biggest things basically what we're going to be talking about today is the home buying process, but more specifically credit, as the majority of our clients that we see tend to need some type of credit counseling in order to begin their purchase process. And it's incredibly important that we make sure that individuals are prepared, especially from the credit and debt aspect, before they enter into one of the biggest financial decisions of their lives. So let's see. Oh, I just have to mention that we are a HUD-approved housing counseling department, meaning that the HUD, or the Department of Housing and Urban Development, is the agency that oversees us, and we are certified by them. And if you're ever going to get credit counseling, you want to make sure that you're getting counseling from one of those, from a HUD approved agency. Oh, it looks like we have a caller. Let's see. Okay, put him through.
Yes, sir. My name is Ray.
Hi, Mr. Ray. How you doing?
Oh, fine. And you?
I'm good. I'm great. What's up?
Okay. Do you get the money from the government? And if you do you just rent to American citizens, U.S. citizens, or do you give to DACA people also?
That's a great question. No, we actually, so
the law. There's the law if you for housing for the DACA people because they're not citizens.
right. So that's a good question. So once again, I'm not in the rental department. However, as far as I know, I don't want to give you any incorrect information. I don't know if we have any current DACA recipients who are renters of ours. However, I think I imagine it's probably a case by case basis, but it's not. I don't think you can be denied if you don't have status. I think as long as you have a social security number, and it might be the case that all you need is an ITIN in order to apply to be any of our renters.
Okay, so that would be against the law, right?
So once again, I don't know the specifics of how we do that. I know we're complying with all laws, so I would like to say that we, from that perspective, we are compliant in all cases.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yep, sorry I wasn't able to get more information. Feel free to give our office a call, and then you'll be able to get more information about that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So that was a good question. Thanks for calling, Ray. Once again, those specifics about how we determine who our renters are is definitely more of a question for our leasing department, as I don't work directly with them and I don't know what our leasing policies are. However, I do know that we are fully compliant with the law, as we do get some funding from the federal government, and we get tax credits from them, so we do have to be compliant. Okay, so let me just continue. Once again, let me just go over quickly our mission. So our mission is to preserve and promote affordable housing development and rehabilitation, home ownership, property management, and provide community organizing by advocating for resources. And so how we do that is basically we try to lobby our elected officials. We try to speak with any city officials as much as we can in order to make sure that people aren't getting displaced, and we're able to provide low-income and affordable housing for all, as well as create wealth for the community. So I'm going to start off. We'll start talking about credit. And so usually the first question that I ask people when we start the home buying process is, are you actually ready to be a homeowner? And that's going to be a big question that you want to ask yourself, because there's a lot of upsides as well as downsides to home buying. The upsides, because you have to think about it. So upside is, you get to build wealth. You get to be a homeowner. You get to, you have your own space. No one can tell you what you can and cannot do with your property, for the most part. You can knock down a wall and make it add more bedrooms, add a garage. But the downsides are, what if your investment doesn't work out? What if you're in an area where the property values decrease and then you're suddenly in an underwater mortgage? Maybe you have a flood, or you get or a pipe burst. There are a lot of pipes that burst in the city of Chicago due to the cold. And guess what? Guess who has to pay for that? You do. And so that can be a big cost for you that you have to make sure that you're ready for in the instance that something like an emergency happens to your home. But obviously that wealth building aspect can be very, very important to people. And for most people, it's the American dream is to own a home. And so if that's your ultimate goal, we would like to make sure that at least you're fully informed about how to go about doing that. Next question you do want to ask yourself is about down payment assistance. So there's so many different types of down payment assistance programs that are in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. And you want to ask yourself, do you need down payment assistance? Is there, what kind of programs are you eligible for? Are based on your income and your credit score. Is it a benefit to you to use down payment assistance, or would it be better for you to not? Maybe you'll get a better rate, or sometimes, but there's different types of programs, and you want to ask yourself, is that something that you're interested in? And the last question is, can you afford it? There's a lot of hidden costs in the home buying and to being a homeowner, as well as in the home buying process, that can really add up. And you want to make sure that you're prepared for that and you're not really stretching yourself too thin just so you can get into that home. Because in the worst case scenario, and you can't afford your monthly mortgage payments, we can assist you with that process, but it's not a good process to be in. It's not fun. It can be pretty traumatizing for many people, and losing your home is just something we want to avoid at all costs. So it's a good question to ask yourself is, what do you know? Do you know your credit score? Do you pull your credit score often? You can go on to annualcreditreport.com and you can get your credit score from the 3 major credit reporting agencies, or credit bureaus also known as, being Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So you want to make sure that so it's a good idea to figure out, at least pull your credit report, and then I think those actually ask you to pay to get your score, but at least you know what your credit report is. So then the question is, why is it important to have a credit score? Why is it important? What is the importance of a credit score? Well, it can be many different things. You need good credit to buy a car. You need credit for a business loan. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. Applying for an apartment rental. Many apartments will run your credit in order to see, to approve you for apartments. Purchasing a home. Obviously, this whole process is really centered around your credit. And then employment. And there are some employment jobs, like for example, being a bank teller, that require that you get a credit check because you're handling all that money. And so it's just important to understand what credit is and what it can do for you. And so I have a brief little definition of credit that we've adopted and we actually like a lot. So I'll just read it for you right now. So credit is borrowed money that you can use to purchase goods and services when you need them. You are charged interest for the privilege of borrowing money and being given the opportunity to pay a set rate for a specified period of time instead of the entire amount. Okay? So I like that definition. It's very specific. And it gives you a good idea of what credit is. And credit can also, then, when you talk about your credit score, you can talk about that as like your financial report card. So yes, we've all left school. Most of us have left school. Maybe grades don't matter, but guess what? Basically, your credit score can be considered your financial report card, and it goes from, if we've got, 750 to 850 or 780 to 850, that's an A. And then you've got lower than that can be a B, and then so on and so forth. And so we just want to make sure that, and guess what? The people with the A's are going to get the best loans. They're going to get the best products when they talk about mortgages, and they're more likely to get the most amount of down payment assistance possible. So let's talk about types of credit. So there are 3 types of credit. Okay. Oh, looks like we have another caller. Yep.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
I'm okay. This is Paula. How you doing, Henry?
I'm doing good. How are you, Paula?
I'm doing okay. You're talking about starting up, getting first-time home buyers, huh?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and what's the best way to go about that? I mean, are you talking about just Cook County? Are you talking about all over the place, or what are you talking about?
So today what we're talking about today is really basically the home buying process across all boards. I'll specify and say the state of Illinois, because that's where I know the most about.
Right.
But there are down payment assistance programs that are not specific to Cook County. There's a new program that's out.
Well, let's ask you like this. Let's say if I wanted to get a house in Lombard, or if I wanted to get a house in Chicago, which would be the best way to go? To go through the banks to Chicago with the high taxes, or go out to Lombard?
So that's entirely up to you. That's, there are different programs so it depends on what, so you want to ask yourself, so where do you actually want to live?
Right.
Where can you afford to buy?
Right.
What type of down payment assistance are you looking for?
What kind of credit you got? That's the most important.
So that's going to be the most important no matter where you go.
Okay. Now, as far as the state of Illinois now, because I guess under Mr. President Trump, we are a sanctuary city. So therefore, there are no available funds for people like us that want to be a first-time home buyer. Is that correct?
That's not correct. No. So in terms of fund, there are all different types of programs for down payment assistance. For example, I would encourage you to visit, I believe it's ida.gov or ida.org. Yeah, IDA.gov, so IHDA.gov. And they have a program. It's called, I believe it's called IDA Access. And they have three different types of programs available for down payment assistance. Which one program being up to $6,000, another program being up to $7,500, and then another one up to being up to $10,000 in assistance.
There you go. So that sounds great then. That sanctuary city stuff has got nothing to do with trying to get a home at a first-time home buyer.
No, as of right now, in terms of, yeah, it doesn't, those two policies are not in it. The state is doing something different than the federal government right now. That's not something you should worry about when it comes to being a home.
One more question. One more question.
Yeah.
This is a little off the wall. Let's say somebody just got out of, what we call it college. That's another term for incarceration. Let's say somebody just got out of that and they need a place to stay and they don't know where to go. I know in certain neighborhoods they have low housing income for people like that. Do you have any information, or are you affiliated with any kind of situation like that to help a friend of ours out? Something like that, or are you just strictly going with the home buyer first time deal?
So we do have low-income housing apartments.
Right.
Their availability is based on, so there's a wait list that people have to work on. I know that we have certain, I can't speak to how they deal with people who have been recently incarcerated. I know it's more of a case-by-case basis.
Right.
And obviously there's regulations on that, and so I can't speak to that.
And how do you find out the neighborhoods that they're in?
So I know so we have a list in our office of all the different organizations and locations of different low-income housing, and affordable housing.
That's for people that have been incarcerated, right? That recently got out.
So no, so that would be a specific, I couldn't give you, information, I don't know off the top of my head, information about, housing for recently incarcerated individuals.
Perfect.
So I don't know that specifically. I would always I don't know. I know our staff is very knowledgeable about.
What? Before you leave, put your telephone number up there again.
Yeah, will do.
And then I'll give you a call and we'll talk about that further at another time.
Perfect. Yeah, no
But
problem.
anyhow, you answered all my questions, so there is help for low-income people that want to start up a home on the first time. Just make sure so have a little bit of money, and the state of Illinois will work with us. Yeah?
They still, so they will, so the state of Illinois, so they're, yeah, all different types of down payment assistance programs for people of all different types of income.
And if I call this number on the screen, will I be able to find out that other question about my friend that just got out of college?
So I can't guarantee that we have the answer to that, but I promise you that we'll try our best to answer your question.
That sounds good enough for me. Thank you very much for your help.
Of course. You have a great day, Paula.
You
All right, so we'll just continue really briefly. Thanks so much for our callers. I'm really enjoying this. So once again, we were just talking about credit and the three types of credit. So we've got revolving credit, installment credit, and service credit. And so revolving credit is credit cards. That's mainly pertains to credit cards. That's when the balance will go over for another month and you can pay monthly payments on that. Next is installment credit. That's like a car loan. Basically, you have a set amount of money, like $20,000 for a car, and you're paying every month. You're paying a certain amount of money until that's paid off, and then you don't owe it anymore. Service credit. This is like cell phones, utility companies. So I'm just going to talk real briefly about FICO versus Vantage scoring. So I don't know if you ever heard of those two different types of scoring models. FICO was it's called the Fair Isaac Corporation. It's a much older. It's basically an algorithm and a program for how they determine what your credit score is. It's used by pretty much all mortgage lenders, and so that's the number that they go by in terms of your credit score, in terms of and of how they're qualifying you for a mortgage. And then so that's the number you want to look at specifically when you're going to start the home buying process. The next one is Vantage scoring. This one is recently created. It was designed by the three credit bureaus. They have the same scoring numbers, meaning that it's from 350 to 850, I believe. So it's the same range. However, they have a different model for how they weight different things on your credit report. So your score could be different from what FICO is, and so we try to make sure that we're using FICO whenever we try to help you determine whether or not your mortgage ready. And so we have a system by which we do that. So it's important when you talk about Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a great tool to monitor your credit. However, they use Vantage scoring, and so it's important to know that while it's a great tool, it may not be the most accurate tool to use when deciding whether or not your mortgage ready. Okay. Okay, and so it's just important to understand when we're talking about credit scores what the impact that can have on your interest rates. So if I have a little table here that I can just read out to you. Basically, and these numbers, these percentage rates are not accurate to today, but essentially if you had a 760 to an 850 FICO score, you could get a 5.8 interest rate, or APR, annual percentage rate as they call it. And that gives you a monthly payment about $1,481. Let's say if you have a 580 credit score, or 580 to 619, then your percentage rate is 8.2, and you're paying about $1,800 for rent. And so what that comes out to each, especially in terms of what you're paying over 30 years, is about $140,000 in difference. So the question being what you want to ask yourself is, are you willing to take that higher interest rate and pay more over time just so you can get into that home? Or maybe you should take some time, maybe a year or two, just to build your credit so that it's, as high as it can possibly be, so that you're getting the best rate and you're not paying any unnecessary amounts over those 30 years. And this can obviously vary depending on whether or not you want to live in the home for a shorter period of time. Because if you're gonna live there for 30 years, maybe best to get the best rate. But if you're only gonna live there for 5 years, there's always things you want to ask yourself. Maybe just to get in the home, you're paying that a little bit extra, but then you can sell it and make some money off of that if the home appreciates. And so there's always things you want to think about. But just keep in mind that it's always better to have a better credit score. Let's see. So in terms of their credit, so based on FICO, they don't really know what their math is, but we have a general idea. And so 35% of your score is payment history. So what does that mean? That means if you make a late payment, if you have one late payment, I'm talking just one, and you don't have that many open accounts or open trade lines on your credit report, then that's going to severely damage your score. So it's always important to make your payments on time, and there are different ways that we can assist you with, we have different programs that are available to help you and assist you with making payments on time. We obviously know that things happen. And there are ways to build your credit from there, but as best we can, we want to avoid any late payments. The next is your account balances. So general rule of thumb is you want to have at least 30. Your balances to be 30% of your credit limit. And so what does that mean? That means if your credit limit is $1,000, you don't want to have more than $300 on your credit card at one time. As that will increase your balances, and basically if your balances are high compared to what your limits are in terms of your credit, that means that they're considering you somewhat risky, and that will make your score go down as well. Next one is length of credit, and so that can be basically, the longer you have your accounts, the better. So that's why we say to want to avoid closing accounts. 10% of your credit score is having a variety of different accounts. So that's like car, home, credit card, all that stuff. So you want to make sure that you have a variety of different credit cards if you can. And then next is inquiries. You want to avoid inquiries. If you can avoid as many inquiries as you can, don't want to have more than 3 in 6 months. That's a general rule of thumb. And so when you get an inquiry, that means when you're asking for credit. That's like when you go out to get your mortgage. So we're about to wrap up. So I'll put our information on the screen again. So once again, our address is 1152 North Christiana. Our phone number is 773-489-8484. Our website is www.L.U.C.H.A.org, and our email address is intake@L.U.C.H.A.org. I thank you very much for taking the time to watch our show, and thank you so much for the callers for asking your questions. I encourage you, for many of your questions, to go call our office, and we can get the best people on those questions. We can answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to go to our office as well. We can always direct you to resources. One of our best things is that we know a lot of different nonprofits and resources throughout the city of Chicago that we can refer you to. So thank you very much for joining us on this Monday, and we hope you guys have a great night. Thank you.